Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Derek Brunson, welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Yeah, all
Very
good,
good, mate.
all
Very good.
Well,
Very excited to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I mean, first and foremost, Derek, how's training going? How's camp been?
Camp's been real good, the same as my previous 4 fights down at Sanford MMA. So good training partners, good coaches, everything's good.
Excellent.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. We had, I heard Darren Till on Ariel Helwani's show recently saying that when the fight was originally postponed for a bit, he was messaging you saying to wait for him, that he's the biggest fight in the division outside the title shot. I want to know, A, is that true? And B, how were the interactions with Darren? Because we know that he can be a bit of a troll, but also quite a funny guy on social media. So how was that, if that did happen?
Yeah, Till's funny, he sent me a couple messages. I sent him a couple messages. He's a funny guy. And yeah, I think that was one of the most exciting fights to make in the middleweight division, Huge implications for himself and myself.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, we've been interviewing lots of the British fighters that are on this card, and all of them were obviously very, very kind of upset when the fight was no longer going to be in the UK. I just wonder, speaking to an American fighter, how you found it when you got the news that you wasn't going to be walking out to a potentially hostile British crowd, full of Darren Till fans. How did it feel to know that the fight was going to be on US soil?
I was a little upset that I wasn't going to get booed to death when I walked out to the octagon, but it is what it is, man. I fought all across the world through my times in the UFC. I fought in Australia, New Zealand, Brazil. I was supposed to fight in Germany one time. So, yeah, this is just going to be another place that I fought. One of my biggest wins was Machida in Brazil, So I don't mind going to somebody's hometown and getting the job done. Making some fans, kind of pissing the fans off by beating their countrymen. But
so was there an element of potentially even disappointment that you didn't get to go abroad and come over to the UK for the fight? Was that maybe even slightly disappointing, or were you like, nah, it's easier for me for training and all that stuff to just keep it in America?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed, because like I said, I haven't been to the UK before. I've been all across the world, but I haven't been to the UK. So that was one of the things. Just another bucket list, another place that I've been. So I was a little disappointed, but at the end of the day, it's all good. Maybe sometime in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to ask you was, you're on a 4-fight win streak at the moment. You're really grinding your way through a very tough division, and your opponent, Darren Till, is someone that's only 1-1 at middleweight, and yet the champion's saying his name. I know he hasn't fought Adesanya yet, and you have, which obviously is slightly in his favour. But is it in any way frustrating for you, someone that's put together a 4-fight win streak, is working incredibly hard, knowing that there's a lot of talk that if Darren beats you, he could get a title shot next?
Well, I feel the same way, with a good, impressive victory, I can get a title shot too. So that's my mindset, and that's what I've been working all these years to get that rematch back. When me and Israel fought before, I was the higher ranked guy. So, he'll be the higher ranked guy with a rematch. So it kind of worked perfect. Mm-hmm. I did him a solid. He did me a solid. Now we back, see what happens after all these years.
But I mean, obviously you'd have really earned that. I mean, 5-fight win streak over some of the names that you've had as well, particularly if you were to beat Darren. I think everyone from the outside would go, well, look, Derek's earned it. But there would be, I think, a faction of people out there that would possibly say that Darren hasn't done as much to earn it. But do you just go, look, that doesn't bother me. You're just on your own path, doing your own thing, and everyone else can do what they do?
Oh, yeah, for sure. In life, you can't really compare. You can't compare your journey or where somebody's at or how much money someone else has compared to what you have. You got to be on your own path. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, I'm not comparing my body of work to Till's or what he's done. Me and him are scheduled to fight with 2 top-ranked guys with a lot of implications on this fight. So that's what it is.
Well, let's talk about the fight. I mean, how do you see it going?
Oh, I see myself winning, however I need to get it done. You know,
I wasn't doubting that to be the answer. I just
Yeah.
wondered like how you saw that win coming.
I don't know, knockout, submission, TKO. You know, I really don't have any planned ways that I want to finish the fight. You know, during the fight week, that's when I really get locked in and I start seeing ways that I can finish the fight. But right now, I'm just training, making sure my body's good, making sure I push myself, and then you know we'll count it down as the week goes on.
So, I mean, the other thing is with it being in Vegas, it's going to be at the Apex, I imagine, and that does have a smaller cage. Now, everyone will be expecting Darren to use footwork and striking to keep the fight standing, and everyone will be expecting you to be going in for the takedowns and using your wrestling. Do you think the smaller cage will make a difference in the fight at all?
I don't know. Guys know the move when their back is to the cage. Everybody trains that, whether it's a big cage or a small cage. Guys are always going to circle, look to counter, look to keep the center. So that's always the focus, and it's always the focus of the other guy not to be too aggressive to run into stuff. So small cage, big cage, you got to fight regardless, and you got to get stuff done. So this is how I look at it.
Absolutely.
What are you expecting from Darren?
I'm expecting Darren, you know, just be his normal self. You know, look to get it going. A lot of feints on the feet, tag, move, you know. So that's what I'm expecting, a little Lyoto Machida, Stephen Wonderboy type feel.
And do you feel like, has Darren, in the opponents you've seen that Darren's had, do you feel like his takedown defense has ever been tested by any one of your credentials and your ability when it comes to the wrestling side of things?
Nah, I don't think he's been, you know, his wrestling been tested to my level. You know, I would say the closest is Woodley, you know, but, you know, I'm a longer, bigger version, stronger. You know, my wrestling's just as good, as, if not better. So, I mean, that's where we at with that.
Yeah, Woodley very much sort of relied on that power right hand as well a lot of the times. And, you know, fingers crossed he does the business against Jake Paul this weekend. I think everyone in the MMA community is hoping for a Woodley win there. But I mean, speaking of like Jake Paul and the kind of these kind of social media stars and stuff like that, how are you with social media? Because I mean, I see the pros and cons with social media with what I do, and I know a lot of fighters do as well, because you need it to build your brand, get a bigger purse for fighters, and get followers and sponsorships and stuff like that. But it seems particularly with fighters, you have to deal with such kind of vitriol and some quite nasty stuff, not just the fans of a country going, oh, my boy's going to knock you out or anything like that, but genuinely sometimes some really horrible stuff. How do you deal with social media, and do you see it as more of a positive or a negative?
Social media, I like it, you know, building your brand and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter, you know. I've been in this game for a long time. When I was like 10 years younger in the game, I would read stuff and I would kind of take it to heart, but now I just laugh at it. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. You know, this guy with the egg as his profile, or this guy with no picture talking trash, you know? So, like, it's just one of those things, like, you don't see really responsible people talking trash like that. It's always the guy with no profile, or they got a picture of Conor McGregor or Israel Adesanya with a meme or something like that. So, yeah, it doesn't bother me, you know. Building social media, talking to fans, whatever they have to say, as long as they pay attention to the fight, that's all that matters.
We spoke to Mark Goddard, the ref, and about trolling and people that would be very outspoken about any kind of decision that he'd made in a fight. And he was quite quick to say he's had thousands and thousands of people throw all kinds of vitriol at him online. No one's ever tapped him on the shoulder and said it to his face, though.
Yeah, that's a fact. You know, people say stuff. Everybody's safe behind the firewalls and behind their accounts. You know, you might have an 8-year-old kid talking trash to you. You know, online they're probably looking like Brock Lesnar, but in person, you know, it's an 8-year-old kid behind it. So yeah, man, it is what it is.
So I mean, look, there's potentially a really big fight in the future at middleweight coming up between Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. I don't think that deal's done yet or anything, but it looks like that's the way things are trending. You've obviously fought both of those guys. How would you see a rematch between those guys going, between Adesanya and Whittaker? What do you think happens in that fight?
I don't know. I think Whittaker makes some adjustments I'm a little bit more patient, a little bit more timed approach. I don't want to give him too much tips because, if I fight him, I don't want to give him. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we make some adjustments and he's a better version of himself and make the fight more interesting for a rematch.
Yeah. So, but you're not quite sure which way you think it would go. You think it'd just be a close fight.
I mean, if I had to pick, maybe I would say Izzy because he got it done in the first one. But, it was kind of like a bang-bang play. They both threw a hook. Izzy's got there faster. He was just on that night. So in a rematch, yeah, no telling. Maybe, like I said, if I had to pick, I'd say Izzy. But it could be some adjustment made and make it a better fight and a good fight.
And Derek, we're aware that we're short on time and you've got to go and do a COVID test. But also, just wanted to get your thoughts on last weekend's event with Kelvin and Cannonier. And did you agree with the decision there? Obviously, it looked like Kelvin didn't.
So I can't really call it. Like 2 weeks, a week before before my fights, I really don't watch fights.
Oh, really?
Like I'm like, yeah. I just kind of like look for the results and see how they won, and then I'll read a little bit of like threads on Twitter or something, seeing like the fans thought and who they thought won. But from my take, I saw it was a close fight, but most people said that Cannonier edged it, but it was definitely a close fight. I think they said maybe it was a third round where he dropped Gastelum, but Gastelum got right back up. But I think that was like the biggest thing in the fight, in a close fight that was everybody can remember. So it seemed like Cannonier edged it. So yeah.
And you say you don't watch, fights in the weeks leading up to your fight. What about like Darren Till fights? Are you watching tape of Darren?
Yeah, so that's what I'll start locking in. I'll start locking in on my opponent. I really don't watch a lot of film. Like I let my coaches do everything, and I really worry about making myself better, making myself the best version of myself. And then like close to the fight, that's when I'll start like locking in a little bit, watching film. Kind of a little backwards because maybe you'd be like, oh, well, I should be working on this the whole time. But I like being able to like make adjustments short notice because in a fight, that's how it goes. Somebody might show a new wrinkle and you have to make an adjustment quick. So that's how I kind of look at things.
Yeah, and last question for you, Derek. If the fight all goes well on September 4th, you get that win, what's the go-to meal? How are you celebrating?
Probably some insomnia cookies or maybe some Krispy Kreme donuts. I might eat like 9 out of 12 or something like that. Get a dozen.
Really filling up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Derek, best of luck on the 4th. It's a shame it can't be in the UK. We'd love to have been there to see you fight in person. All the best, and thank you so much for your time today.
All right, thank you guys.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks, man.
Later.